Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard. And this Scoreboard is really a special edition because we are bringing to you from the Cycle Velodrome here in Couva the sod-turning ceremony for the Trinidad and Tobago Football Federation. As you know, when the President John Williams took over being the president, one of his main agenda was to get Trinidad and Tobago football a home. And today is really a special occasion because today is that day where they turn the sod for the beginning of construction of the home for Trinidad and Tobago football. So stay tuned. You'll view on ACTN. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we go straight to proceedings and we bring you all the information right here on ACTN.
Now changing your question.
What I would say, Steve, is this.
My first question was, and roll back that tape.
I made my debut for Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur.
My responsibility was to get the ball and make things happen offensively.
All
the time we've played together, I've always been the decoy.
Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 and 9.
Welcome to the new season of Football 101. I am your host, Joshua Matos.
Well, it's time for your weekly football news update. I love you, Messi.
Unfortunately,
Kiss the badge, kiss the badge. Oh, what's that?
Welcome to this edition of The Interview, and as you can see, I'm not alone on the set. I have Marcus, a Liverpool fan, and I have Shakir.
Members of the board, Honorable Darrell Smith, Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs, Honorable Clarence Rambarat, Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Philippe Mogeo, General Secretary of CONCACAF, Mr. Dinanath Ramnarayan, the Chairman of the Sports Company of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Justin Latipi George, General Secretary of the TTFA, other members of the TTFA through ancillary bodies, Mr. Anton Cornel, Technical Director of the TTFA, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, good afternoon, and welcome to what is a seriously consequential event in the life of the TTFA. I think today will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that if there was any kind of thinking that football, maybe even the TTFA, had lost its salience, I think today will disprove that. And I say consequential because it is. This is something we've spoken about for a long time. We are turning the sod today to start the construction of a 72-room sports hotel with additional services. We are also today signaling the start of construction of new football pitches in and around those that already exist. And that, of course, is just the first phase in really the realization of a dream that has existed for a long time. My name is Tony Harford. I've been accorded this considerable honor of being the Master of Ceremonies today. And rather than me continue delivering bilge and balderdash, which I'm very good at, I think I should give you someone who is enthusiastic as a small boy with a toy about this project and about football in Trinidad and Tobago. I think we all know that we're referring to the president of the TTFA, Mr. David John Williams. Please welcome him.
Thank you very much, Tony. Honorable Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs, Mr. Darrell Smith, Mr. Clarence Rambarat, Minister of Education, Agriculture. Sorry about that, because I have education in my mind right now, and you'll understand why I said Minister of Education. Mr. Philip Mogio, General Secretary of CONCACAF. I appreciate your presence here. You just flew in a few hours ago to be here, and we welcome you. Thank you very much. Mr. Dinanath Ramnarine, the Chairman of the Sports Company of Trinidad and Tobago. Members of the board of the TTFA, coaches, players, sponsors, potential sponsors, and I stress on potential sponsors because it's going to be an interesting afternoon. I also take the opportunity to recognize Mr. Esmond Ford, Member of Parliament for Tunapuna, and let me particularly recognize two sponsors in the audience, Mr. Junior Sami from Junior Sami Contractors, who has been very instrumental in helping the TTFA. And there's going to be a new sponsor that is going to reveal today, Nucor Corporation. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, players, football family. If I forget anybody, please accept my apologies. I have learned over the years that I have been involved in football and observing successful clubs and football playing countries, that the long-term success is driven by good planning, finance, the fans, as well as a dedicated training center, a place to call home. Today's event touches all of these. If you have heard any of my recent speeches in the past 20 months, my next statement will sound like a recording. However, here goes. Before this administration took office, we published a strategic plan for the long-term development and sustainability of Trinidad and Tobago's football. That document spoke to us establishing a permanent home for football, including having our own training facilities. Ladies and gentlemen, today is a historic occasion. It's a result of strategic planning, passion, and hard work and dedication of the TTFA board, staff, and stakeholders. FIFA and CONCACAF's financial support to the development of this project demonstrate confidence in the administration of football in Trinidad and Tobago, and I want to thank them for that support and guidance. CONCACAF has underlined that confidence in the TTFA by allowing Trinidad and Tobago to host in January 2018 the final round of CONCACAF for the Under-20 Women's World Cup. We will welcome USA, Canada, Mexico, Costa Rica, and Nicaragua, along with 2 other countries yet to qualify. Three teams will qualify for the FIFA Women's Under-20 World Cup to be held in France in August 2018. Our country as host will strive to qualify for the first time to an Under-20 World Cup final. I urge the nation to come out and support our Under-20 women between the 18th and 28th of January, right here at the home for football, the Atto Bolden Stadium. The government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago has also demonstrated their faith in the new football administration. They have provided prime acreage for the construction of the home of football. Phase 1 of this project consists of the construction of a 72-room sports hotel, complete with ancillary facilities, the construction of 2 new grass training pitches, and the flood lighting of both, along with the flood lighting of 1 existing training pitch. Phase 1 will also include the construction of a sports bar and entertainment center. Phase 2 will consist of the construction and flood lighting of 2 natural grass and 2 artificial pitches and related facilities for same. We hope to secure funding and begin construction of this phase in 2019. These facilities will have benefits that transcend football. There will be benefits for the adjoining centers, aquatic, cycling, cricket, and of course the Atto Bolden Stadium. This will create a hub for sporting excellence that will propel the country's sports tourism trust. The government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago has been far-sighted and courageous, and we thank them for their support and presence every step of the way. It will be difficult to put a value to the prime acreage provided. I will use just one word: priceless. After 109 years, today we celebrate the start of construction for us having our own home. As we celebrate this momentous occasion, the TTFA is also happy to announce a new partnership. Our strategic plan spoke to having a sustained grassroots program, which is also important in football countries. Titled Investing in Our Youth, Kickstarting Their Development, this program will see the TTFA teaming up with the Ministry of Education through the primary schools to have 2,000 boys and girls between the ages of 5 and 9 playing football at the same time on the same day of the week for 1.5 hours. We will start with 80 schools in the first instance. These boys and girls will be provided with a complete branded gear of the TTFA, and the school will be provided with the necessary equipment by the TTFA. Coaching support will be facilitated through current players in the TT Pro League as part of their social responsibility. This would not be possible without a sponsor and partner. Nucor Corporation has stepped in to support this program and pledged US $100,000 over 2 years, and that deserves a round of applause. The TTFA will, from its FIFA development funds, add a further US $50,000. It is the intent, ladies and gentlemen, to have this, by the same time next year, an increase from 2,000 to 4,000 students in 160 schools. A heartfelt thank you, Nucor. When this administration speaks and promises, it delivers. Notwithstanding all that is being achieved, we are not without our critics, but we live by these words of Denzel Washington. Focus on what you are doing, not the critics. Critics never make history, and critics never make anyone's life better. Focus on adding value in your own unique, special way. The benefits from the construction of these facilities will redound to all of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here today, and enjoy the rest of the proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President David John Williams, for the opening salvo. He mentioned during his remarks that we found another partner in football, this one for our primary school students. And David's vision, of course, which he shared with you, is that there'll be at least 2,000 kids playing at the same time in schools across the country on the same afternoon. And I do believe that that project is going to be piloted by our technical team. So Mr. Anton, Cornel, your hands are full in the coming months, I'm sure. We'd like to invite Mr. Macaulay of Nucor, who is the company's principal representative today, to do the presentation to Mr. David John Williams, which of course is the start of this important grassroots project. Mr. Macaulay.
Well, thank you for having us here today, and I want to thank the team at New Iron because all of their hard work has put us in a position where we can give back to the community. And we have a lot of good people there, and they've worked extremely hard over the last 11 years to make our facility very efficient. So for that, I thank them for putting us in a position where we can give back and be here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
David mentioned at the start that Mr. Philippe Mogeo, the General Secretary of CONCACAF, has flown in to lend support to the event and, of course, to lend the gravitas that this event does deserve. Mr. Mogeo is part of that team at CONCACAF. If over the last year or two you found that the TTFA has been able to trouser gifts from the FIFA, it could not be done without the goodwill and the support of CONCACAF. I think the new FIFA model is that it must be sanctioned and approved. So, Mr. Mogeo, from all of us in Trinidad and Tobago, I say thank you, and I invite you to bring a message from the CONCACAF.
Thank you for those very kind words. And protocol having been established, I'd just like to say welcome to everybody. It is an honor for me to be here today, for President David John Williams to have invited me, to have invited CONCACAF, and for me to be representing our president, Mr. Victor Montagliani, on behalf of CONCACAF in this very special occasion. This occasion symbolizes a moment where the Trinidad and Tobago Federation is celebrating a very important milestone in its effort to further develop the game of football, not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but across our region. It is an honor to be among friends and colleagues to officially commence construction of the National Training and Technical Development Center on the home of football. This is a massive development, a landmark that will change the sports here in Trinidad and Tobago. The home of football will create a unique facility to conduct administrative operations, while certainly providing the opportunities for our young players to play this game, as well as the promoting and the advancement of women's football, beach soccer, and futsal. This ceremony represents a significant inspiration as it sets the beginning of a new phase to continue making the game bigger and more prosperous in Trinidad and Tobago. On behalf of our president, Victor Montagliani, I would like to congratulate President David John Williams and thank you and your team, as well as all the colleagues involved in this massive project and undertaking. Football comes first at CONCACAF, and our vision for the future within the region is seeing our players develop and grow within the sport as we all work towards that same goal. This is the ultimate goal and payoff in football. It's about providing the opportunities for our youth to elevate their own standards. David, it's not lost on us what this moment represents. The sod turning. I think it symbolizes the rebirth of a federation. We at CONCACAF know what you inherited. We know the financial debts, the tremendous amount of legal and administrative issues that you and your team have had to deal with, and we commend you on the way you have handled them. Your efforts and your singular focus on football and its development, not only here but across the region, are really setting the right example for our region. We know that Trinidad and Tobago will make CONCACAF very proud with its future achievements, not only on the pitch, but off the field as well, and will serve as a great example for the rest of our members. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me, I would like to present Mr. David John Williams a commemoration gift on behalf of our President, Victor Montagliani. First, our banner of One CONCACAF, bringing together our 41 members. That's Victor's mission to unite this entire region. And in commemoration of this special day, a gift, David, that I will read. President Victor Montagliani, One CONCACAF. Mr. David John Williams, President Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, in commemoration of the sod turning ceremony to commence the construction of the home of football, September 29th, 2017. Thank you very much.
It must be a very busy time for our next speaker. I think we're all remarking and kind of wondering whether he in fact will be here today, because we know he is busy confecting plans. Note, I didn't say austerity plans for the next year, but even if the plans are austere, I'm sure that his mission and his vision is to ensure not only the survivability of sport, but incessant success for sport over which he presides in the government of Trinidad and Tobago. I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to please welcome Honorable Darrell Smith, Minister of Sport.
Thank you, Tony. Mr. Felipe Maggio, welcome to Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you for coming here for the short notice and leaving tomorrow morning. I thank you and welcome for the first time to Trinidad and Tobago. Hope you enjoy your stay. President of TTFA, the hard-working Mr. David John Williams, my chairman for the Sport Company of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Dinanath Ramnarayan Dinners, as we know him, very hard-working young man, my cabinet and parliamentary colleagues, secretary of TTFA, coaches, players, parents, trainers, well-wishers, and most importantly, of course, the athletes and the players who are here this evening. I want to first of all apologize for the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, not only myself, the Minister of Agriculture, and of course the Deputy Speaker, who will have a part with regards to the budget for the Parliament as well. But of course, you all know the Prime Minister has been very busy this week. Next week, Monday, is the budget, so he asked to be excused for this evening's proceedings. You know, 2 years ago, I became the Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs, thanks to the Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley. And the first meeting I had with the heads at the Ministry of Sport and the sports officers, I asked them to go through each of the sports with me with regards to the performance and so on, not just podium in terms of how they administrate. And one by one, the different sports officers and heads and so on from sport company and the ministry went through cricket, football, basketball, and so on. And we all know that football is our national sport. Each country has a national sport. We have the most participation, we have the most fans, and with that comes the most investment in terms of the government for obvious reasons. There's nobody could dispute that, although they may have other sports may try. Football is most liked, the most played, and so on. But when I asked in terms of the performance of football at the time, we all know the history, would have heard the comments with regards to what Mr. Williams inherited. And there were several issues going on with the sport with regards to the administration and so on. And Mr. Williams came in and he won the election. We all know the history. And the first time I met Mr. Williams, although I played football for Trinidad many years ago and was around the circuit, I never met him before him becoming the president, and we met. And he was one of the most excited, the most ambitious, positive person that I've ever met. And it's always rewarding and nice and happy to see somebody talk and say plans, put it to paper, and see it manifest itself to occasions such as this. One of the mandates that this government has put on all sport, all governing bodies, because people tend to think it's all about just winning and podium. In fact, with social media today, you tend to see the kind of reaction we get when we don't succeed. And when we do succeed, how everybody jumps on the bandwagon. But there's so many other facets with regards to sport that I have been mandated as Minister of Sport, the People's National Movement, one on a manifesto, which is now the policy of the country. And in those very meetings, I met with each of the governing bodies in the first 100 days, and we gave them the mandates. Yes, we want to win. Yes, we want to be successful. But there are also other elements that we have to deal with that we have been ignoring in Trinidad for a while. One of it was sports tourism. Our government coming in wasn't sure what we would have found. We have seen and we have dusted off now, and the whole country, as you would have seen on Wednesday at the Hyatt, where the Prime Minister hosted a spotlight, was a way of letting the country know where we are at. So as part of my job as Minister of Sport and the team at the sport company is to try to diversify the country as much as possible with sports tourism. And it's a huge opportunity for Trinidad and Tobago, away from the oil and gas as we've been depending on for so many years. That was one of the mandates. And we see here today that he has announced that we'll be hosting the Women's CONCACAF Finals here early next year. And what we have started to do at the sport company at the ministry is to track, and you will hear it in my budget presentation next week, that this year has been the most international sporting events in the history of Trinidad and Tobago that sport has hosted. And with that, there's a dollar value, which you will hear that we've been able to bring in through flights, through hotels, and so on. It's also the highest level of international events, sporting-wise, that we have ever hosted in our history. Hockey, tennis, volleyball, cricket, a number of other sports for the first time I've hosted at the highest level. Tennis twice, volleyball twice. And now we'll be hosting a CONCACAF tournament. Again, we've hosted a World Cup, Youth World Cup before. So again, in terms of the sports tourism and the drive, they're doing that. One of the other mandates that we gave our sports was to focus on women in sports, those sports that offer women as part of the sports. We really want to push and ensure that our female athletes get the same as the male. And again, he's doing that with hosting this tournament, but more importantly, working with the women's football and the women's league and so on and so forth. One of the other mandates was to work with the disabled and the para-athletes in sport. I know he has some plans and he's working on that as well. There are a number of other sports who have taken off where there's an opportunity for tourism in that as well in terms of sport. And of course, the development aspect of sport at the grassroots level. And again, he has spoken today about the support that he's been getting from this fantastic company. I want to thank you for coming on board and other sponsors throughout. So really and truly, in this short period of time, Mr. Williams and his team has literally checked off pretty much everything that they were supposed to do in the first year, which is fantastic, and kudos to him. So let's give him a round of applause for that. Yes, we may be having some humps in the road with regards to success. The World Cup, everything is polarized around us qualifying for the Senior World Cup. And the guys did their best, they tried their best. We'll dust ourselves off and come back again. But again, in terms of the other aspects of sport, he's been doing a fantastic job with regards to that. This year as well, Trinidad and Tobago, and you'll be hearing it again next week. I don't want to take away too much from my budget speech. The sport company and the ministry has also calibrated that it has also been one of, if not the most successful year for sport in Trinidad and Tobago. And when I say that, the ministry and essentially the sport company for the first time has tried to ensure that we spread the pie a little more to the non-traditional sports, the smaller sports. I and the chairman have attended as many, if not all, or most of the sporting events on a weekend. We could be on a Saturday as much as 7 or 8 events, trying to show support in these difficult times. We may not have the fiscal capacity, but just being there with some of these sports, and I'll be shocked to tell you that a number of them, I said, it's the first time a chairman and a minister has ever attended an event for some of them. And these guys have really been taking off. You see bodybuilding, beach soccer, Scrabble. It might sound funny, but we have an international guy doing quite well in Scrabble. But these are sports that are registered at the ministry and the sport company, and we have really invested to get those sports going, because not everybody can run behind a ball, have the athletic ability to jump as fast and stuff. They may have other God-given talents, and we've been really focusing to ensure that they get their piece of the pie. So Trinidad and Tobago usually tend to calibrate the success on the Olympics and football, track and field, and football and cricket to an extent. But we have been doing quite well in the other sports, and we want to continue supporting that. We want to continue supporting the women, and we want to continue ensuring that we could push to have a proper sports tourism drive. The sponsorship, as you know, is no secret. We're going through some difficult times. I want to thank all the corporate sponsors, locally and foreign, who have been coming on board. I want to plead with the athletes and those in charge, including myself, to stay in the background and allow the athletes to be the stars, and the athletes, with social media being a new forum, to just be careful when you're hitting send, because those things tend to affect sponsorship, and you might be shooting yourself in your own foot when you put out things. We have started, the ministry has started to develop, and we're going to finalize a forum where we could have organizations and persons come to discuss and mitigate with regards to issues they may have without dusting our dirty linen in the public, because we're only shooting ourselves, as I said, if we continue that way. And I know we are passionate, I know we like to voice our opinion. We're fine, I'm not saying not to voice your opinion, but let's do it in a cordial way, where in the long term, it won't affect us with regards to sponsorship in these difficult times. One of the positives when John came to me with the idea, originally he wanted to do it at the Manny Ramjohn Stadium. And when I saw it and I saw the passion and the fact that he had for the first time cleaned up the audited accounts for FIFA, which, as you know, was an issue with us getting funding, and he had finally done it. I said, listen, our original plan and our main plan is right here in this facility here, where we want to make this the hub for sport for the region. Forget Manny, you're coming over here. And he was shocked because he didn't expect it, but he took it with 2 hands and he went running. The reason for that is, one of the things that I announced when they opened the aquatic, the racket, the cycling, the Sandy Grande facility, and the Brandlar facility, is for the first time in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, we're going to start naming rights. Now, you notice, and I got a little pong for that, why we didn't name certain of these facilities over name them after our athletes that have done well. Well, that is a political thing. We're going to look at that with regards to structures inside the facilities, but in these difficult times, and the model that is out there in first world countries is getting naming rights with sponsors to come on board. But we have a plan. Dennis and the team have a plan for that, but we purposely held back because we wanted this to happen. As you would have heard, UCI is going to make the cycling velodrome, which we're in now, a satellite office, which is going to bring in millions of foreign currency to Trinidad and Tobago. Volleyball, I had a meeting with the president for volleyball worldwide, and they also, ironically, in this same very facility, may be a satellite office for volleyball and cycling for the region. The aquatic center, we just came back from China, and we have some coaches that are going to be coming to teach synchronized swimming and diving for the first time. And we're also looking at making that a satellite office for the region. ITF was here last week, and they are going to sign off pretty soon on making the racket center an international satellite office for the region. Badminton, ironically, it was originally a tennis center. We have changed it. The sport company has met, and we realized that tennis centers are a thing of the past. They are now racket centers. So we have given a home to not just table tennis and badminton, but for a number of the other sports that we plan to work in the future with. A home, and badminton with Caribacco is also looking at next year, making that facility a satellite. So the sponsorship, as you would have seen today with TTFA, is not only about local sponsorship. When those things happen, we're talking international sponsors coming on board, because there will be international events, as we have already started this year, but more importantly, international athletes coming to utilize here. And as you know, when you're in difficult times, as we are now, and we're putting our minds together to work together, cash is difficult. So the next thing is assets. So you're going to see a number of PPPs, public-private projects such as this occurring with regards to us working with different governing bodies, different sponsors and so on to come on board. Right opposite, as you know, is the golf course, Sevilla Golf Course as well. So this whole corner here with the Brian Lara Academy and so on, when those things are signed off, the value and the money that Trinidad and Tobago could get from international sponsors is going to raise, rather than us running in just for the local sponsorship. You think that was a good plan, right? Right, so we were a little patient. We could have signed right away, but we held back to raise the stakes for the taxpayers of Trinidad and Tobago to get a little more value. And what I've been talking to the Minister of Finance is the revenue that we've been earning goes to the consolidated fund. We did a little test with the opening of the Brian Lara Academy, where the revenue for the first time that we made from the opening of that stayed with us. So we're hoping that moving forward, these kind of revenues that we could bring in could go back to the athletes and also to maintain these facilities. And the timing of this hotel, I know it's going to take some time because we have some major events that we have planned in our sports tourism drive. We have the Carifta Games, swimming, that we are going to be hosting in a few years, along with next year, along with the CONCACAF and a number of other international tournaments you're going to be hearing about that are going to be utilizing these facilities. So CONCACAF, TTFA, football overall, thank you for this initiative. One of the things that we've been doing with a number of other sporting organizations is giving them homes, so that $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 rent that they pay for the offices can now go towards the athletes. The sport company used to pay $400,000 a month in Port of Spain. They have been moved here, so that $400,000 a month now goes to the athletes. So these are the little things that don't make the media for whatever reason, right? But we're trying our best in these hard times. And us, everybody in this room here, once we continue to work together as a team for the love of the red, white, and black, for the love of football, I think we'll be okay. We're going to be launching our sports policy pretty soon. We had our last meeting with all the stakeholders this week, all the ministries, and we're going to be coming with a pretty cool sports policy, which we all have to work with. It's a we document. Everybody has been involved. But more importantly, we have to monitor it and implement it, because that has been the problem with the Ministry of Sport, implementation and monitoring of these things. So we're on good footing for 2018. I think this is a good way to end the year and to start the new year in a few days. And God is good. Other countries have so many other difficulties, hurricanes, earthquakes. I say that these economic issues that we're going through is our earthquake, is our natural disaster. And we have to all pull together to get through it. And I think we're doing a good job. So God bless you all. Greatest football, and thank you. Good evening.
You're now changing your question.
What I would say, Steve, is this.
My first question was, and roll back that tape.
I made my debut for Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur.
My responsibility was to get the ball and make things happen offensively.
All
all the time we've played together, I've always been the decoy.
Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 and 9.
Welcome to the new season of Football 101. I am your host, Joshua De Matos.
Well, it's time for your weekly football news update. I love you, Messi.
Unfortunately,
Hey, kiss the badge, kiss the badge. Oh,
what's that?
Welcome to this edition of The Interview, and as you can see, I'm not alone on the set. I have Marcus, a Liverpool fan, and I have Shakir.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. He did play for Trinidad as an under-17, and he was fluent sometimes, always assured though. David John Williams has this clear relish, of which I spoke earlier, for football. In fact, sometimes it's almost demented. So we are going to prove that what he's been saying today is not a figment, but is in fact is part of an organized and structured plan. This video is called Into the Future, and what it spells out is really the vision that David has been espousing for several months. So please enjoy the short video.
Trinidad is my land, and of it I am proud and glad. But I can't understand why some people are talking.
Dwight York will take the corner kick. No Russell Latterby yet, as of yet. It's a decent delivery. The keeper didn't get there. And TNT, they've done it. They've scored the goal that could send them to the promised land. We've seen so many corner kicks. Dennis Lawrence, Marvin Andrews coming up every time.
Edwards is coming to a good position. They've gone away. A very good shot. Shaban had to hold on Himovic. On by Larson. It'll come for Wilhelmsen. It's a really good save. Opportunity for Cornell Glenn. Oh, it's a great effort and he twanged the crossbar.
Some nonsense, me and no way they're doing it for. Go so much violence, I will swear that we're fighting war. Of course, we have living in face, but just like any other place, look, things that I say about here is really too much for me to bear, because my people are daily making progress without any form of stupidness, and in this way we must gain success. For when we move in, we all move as one body, no bickering between you and me. For our policy stands for racial equality. Now when a stranger spending a little time in this love.
Hold on.
Right here. You see now.
You guys ever hear this saying that you could lead a horse to water? You ever hear that saying? You could lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's the same thing I say to you. We have the experience and the knowledge to teach you guys, but we can only teach all you if only one thing.
Oh, well done. You didn't just adjust your body. We just throwing a straight ball. You adjust your body. You throwing a straight ball. You throwing no ball on your time. You adjust your body. Well done, P. Right. Well done. Come on, quicker. Adjust your body. Well done. Adjust your body. Skillful in the park. Skillful in the park. I love it. Come on. As the man deliver, you come. As the man deliver, you come. As the man deliver, you come. Don't walk back. Don't walk back. Don't walk. Well done, Mark. Go on the goal.
Trinidad is my land, and of it I am proud and glad. But I can't understand why some people are talk it bad. But I know all of them we running them out. Don't know where they're talking about. They will paint your black every day, and the right things they will never say, like our sportsmen.
In Tobago, when we put the Roxburgh program together, and we put the Keenan Banacol program together, we got total in about 105 children. We were at Mover Recreation Ground, we had about 125 kids. And here this morning, we have about 50 kids here this morning. So exactly, it's a little over 300 children as part of the program.
You know where they're doing it for. About so much violence, man, you would swear that we're fighting war. Of course, we have we delinquents to face, but just like any other place, look, things that I say about here is really too much for me.
They dreamt. That was part of their dream. 5 minutes away from a World Cup. And you know what her captain is going to do? Take her to the Senior World Cup. Captain is going to do that. They will make it happen.
We all move as one body, no bickering between you and me. For our policy stands for racial equality. Now when a stranger spending a little time in this love.
We have to find a way to try and dust ourselves down as quick as possible and move on. And as I said before, we need to start looking ahead to the future, but also we need to ensure that we show the responsibility to the rest of the teams in the group.
It forces Gibson.
just taps it home. Went back to James. James with the opportunity to shoot, and he just slots it into the ball across. It falls to James. He skips past the challenge, and just slots it home.
Come my sister, and let us build a nation together. Oh, yeah, remember the key to success is working hard. For our country we must have regard. Forget all your differences, let we start to build. And onward to progress we surely will. Because now more than ever we must show discipline, tolerance and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us work hand in hand, because
You're now changing your question.
What I would say, Steve, is this.
My first question was, and roll back the tape.
I made my debut for Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur.
My responsibility was to get the ball and make things happen offensively.
All by not something.
In all the time we've played together, I've always been the decoy.
Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 and 9.
Welcome to the new season of Football 101. I am your host, Joshua De Matos.
Well, it's time for your weekly football news update. I love you, Messi.
Unfortunately.
Hey, kiss the badge, kiss the badge. Oh. What's that?
Welcome to this edition of the interview, and as you can see, I'm not alone on the set. I have Marcus, a Liverpool fan, and I have Shakir.
Well, we have come to the official
the end of the official part of the stud turning ceremony here at the Attobolan Stadium. Remember, this was a special edition of Scoreboard. We brought you the official ceremony for the construction of the brand new hotel, training fields and other football venues here that the Trinidad and Tobago Football Federation had said that they were going to do once elected into office. You were viewing it here on Scoreboard. Remember, if you miss any part of this program, view us tomorrow at 1 p.m. and you can join us next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Scoreboard, right here on ACTA. Have a good week ahead.